Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the show today. I'm here with my co-host, Brandon Como. Brandon, how's it going this morning?
Doing well, Doc. How about yourself?
Man, listen, we got such a huge response from the weight loss show last week. So many people had so many questions, and I got emails of people wondering, wanted more information on that. And of course, I am hosting the workshop where we can dive into all of these details on the 16th. But a lot of the questions that people had were that I didn't really talk much about food. And the reason that I didn't talk a lot about food is because there's so many other things that's happening inside people's bodies that's causing them to gain weight that has nothing to do with food. But of course, what you eat is, of course, an important factor. So before we get into the underlying things in your body and talk a little bit more in detail about that today, I wanted to talk a little more about food and give you guys some of my concepts in my weight loss program that deals with what you actually eat. And I wanted to start with an excerpt from Dr. Anderson's book. And he has a chapter in his book called It's Not Your Fault. And I found this real fascinating. And, I certainly agree that this is an issue whenever it comes to people's diet and the food that they eat. And he talks about the fact that 10,000 years ago, there was really no obesity or heart disease or diabetes, and that just getting enough to eat was a struggle. We had to forage most of the day to get our food in and even to exist. We might have some roots here and some berries and plants there. And naturally, if we found, say, a bush full of ripe berries, if we come across that, we would eat the whole thing right there. And we would gorge ourselves because we never really knew when food was going to come along again. And so our bodies are sort of programmed with this eat the entire bush full of berries mentality. And, if our clan was fortunate enough to catch an animal, they would eat the entire thing right there because they didn't have a refrigerator. And so today when I hear somebody say, I went to a party and I was talking and before I knew it, I ate a whole bowl of chips, or, I was watching that movie and I didn't realize I ate a whole bag of cookies. That's because when your conscious mind is distracted by a TV or by a party, your subconscious mind is still programmed to eat everything in front of you. And add that to the fact that ancient humans had to use a lot of energy to stay alive. Finding food meant gouging for roots from the ground, finding vegetables, grinding grasses and grains. And if they wanted to cook something, that meant gathering water, building a fire without a lighter. And my son and I practice a lot of woodsmanship whenever we go camping. And if you've ever tried to start a fire without a lighter, it is a high caloric situation. It takes a lot of energy to build a fire without a lighter, no matter how you do it. It meant gathering wood and putting all of this stuff together just to eat. So our bodies evolved to be extremely efficient at storing fat for times when food was scarce. If that had not been that way, we may not have survived, through some of those hard times that we had. So to this day, our bodies still fight to store as many calories and as much fat just for survival, as if that's still a problem. So our fat storage system is made up of over 40 billion fat cells, providing a perfect system to keep us alive in times of little or no food. Well, if you fast forward to today's world, we go to the supermarket and roll a basket down the aisle and load it with food and bring it home and eat it. And, we might carry the groceries in the house, but that doesn't take but a few calories. Or we, worse than that, drive through the fast food restaurant and, roll down our window. Actually, we don't even roll it down. We push a button and the window comes down. And then we supersize the burger and supersize the fries and supersize the drink. And, we've spent maybe 8 calories to roll the window down, taken less than 3 minutes to eat the whole thing. And so let's do the math. You've burned, 8 or 10 calories and you've eaten 1,500. This formula has equaled a severely overweight nation. So when he talks about it's not your fault, your ancient human instinct is to eat everything in front of you. And then when you couple that with your body's amazing ability to store all of that excess food as fat, coupled with the high calorie dense food that we have loaded with fat and sugar, it only makes sense that America would struggle with weight like we do. 2/3 of Americans are now overweight. That's 200 and something million Americans now struggle with their weight. Diabetes rates are through the roof. Heart disease rates are through the roof. And this is one of the reasons why, and I just found this excerpt out of his book, really fascinating. And then to add to all of this, restaurant portions and our portions of food that we eat, portion sizes have gotten completely ridiculous. Brandon, some restaurants now serve eight meals in one plate.
Oh, yeah. I can definitely see that.
Especially like a Mexican restaurant, there's enough calories for 8 meals in there.
I had Mexican last night, but let me say this. Now, what I loved about Mexican restaurants is usually there's leftovers.
Yeah, you bring it home.
Because what you just talked about earlier is that we're programmed to eat everything on our plate. And I really thought about that. If it's at the house, usually that's what I'll do is if everything's in front of me, I'll eat it in front of me. But if I go to a restaurant, then I'll see if I have enough to make leftovers to where if I feel myself getting full, then I'm like, well, hey, look, I can spread some of this love out for tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it's kind of different how our minds kind of work because if it's at the house, I'm going to eat it all. But if I'm at a public place, I'll be like, well, I'll see if I can save some for another meal.
One of the things that I used to teach in my clients in my weight loss coaching is when you're ask for a box to go when your food first comes.
Yeah.
As they deliver your food to the table, say, hey, I would like a box. Bring me a box now, please. Mm-hmm. And before you ever start eating, take a half or 2/3 of that and put it in the box.
Yeah.
And that way you can't overeat because you're going to put the right amount of food in your plate, and then you're going to leave with some, that way, because we get busy talking. And, honestly, I know many of you have done this, but you're sitting there talking, eating the appetizers, and you're full, you're stuffed, and your entree's not there yet. Mm-hmm. Before your food even gets to the table, you're like, I'm already full.
Absolutely.
But what do? When the entree comes, we still eat it anyway, and we leave there miserable. These restaurants have gotten ridiculous on the portion sizes. Outback has taken a 70-calorie, wonderfully nutritious root vegetable called an onion that's full of vitamin C and antioxidants and phytonutrients and transformed it into a 2,400-calorie, 134-gram of fat heart attack on a plate called a bloomin' onion. And that's just the appetizer.
I know. Look, if me and my wife every now and then will go get us one of those bloomin' onions, and I mean every now and then, like twice a year, and we can't make it halfway through, both of us eating on it without just saying, all right, we're pretty much full now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happens. And then the entree comes and, people still eat that. So, my weight loss program works because we treat the underlying reasons in your body that your body is signaling fat storage, the things we talked about last week, the stress-induced cortisol production, the overtoxicity of the liver causing you to store belly fat. All of those things are critical. But when it comes to food, having a coach and counting your macronutrients solves a lot of these kind of food issues. And honestly, what I see with my food intake for most of my weight loss patients is that they're not eating often enough. And many times I have them eat more food than what they are and eat more often than what they do. So if you go without breakfast and you don't eat until lunch, what's going to happen is your body is going to flood your system with insulin, and it's going to store all of that as fat. So one of the other things that we teach along this line is whenever you eat, your body is going to produce one of two hormones. It's either going to produce insulin, which everyone knows about, or it's going to produce glucagon, which tells your body to burn fat. So as you eat, your body is either going to make the decision to produce insulin or glucagon. Insulin's job is to store fat. Glucagon's job is to burn fat. Now consider that the average American eats 7 times too many carbohydrates in their diet. Our bodies are literally a fat storing machine. So when you go out to dinner, first thing to hit the table, beer, sweet tea, or soda, your drink, that's a carb. Then they bring the bread, carb. Then they bring your salad, carb, with dressing, carb. And they bring your entree with rice, carb, and another vegetable, carb, and one little protein. And then you save room for another beer, carb, or a dessert, carb. So the average American eats 7 times too many carbohydrates in their diet, and that signals insulin production, which signals fat storage. So it's all about controlling this insulin-glucagon balance. But the problem with this is insulin and glucagon are what's called inversely proportional, meaning you're either going to produce one or the other. You can't produce them both. So if your body is always making insulin, it's not going to produce very much glucagon. And glucagon is the fat burner. Insulin is the fat storer. So by manipulating some of these ways that your body functions, we can turn your body into a fat burning machine, which are all things that I'm going to go over at my weight loss workshop on January the 16th. It's going to be right there in Broussard. We're going to go through not only all of these concepts that we're talking about with food, but just know that we have all of this put together as a comprehensive weight loss strategy. And the biggest factor is not the food. It's that you have real signals inside your body signaling fat storage. If you have extra stress, your body will make cortisol, and cortisol signals fat storage. If you have a hypertoxic liver, your body will store some of those toxins in belly fat, and it will not lose the belly fat until you solve that. So there's real things going on inside your body that simply must be addressed. 2/3 of our country has weight problems. So it's not just our Louisiana food, and it's not just your genetics. There are real things happening inside your body that you have not addressed. And guys, weight loss does not have to be this hard. There is a system that you can solve these things in your body to help make this much, much easier. And I can coach you through this step by step. So the workshop's going to be January the 16th at 6:30 p.m. right there in Broussard. If you want to sign up and register for that, the phone number is 837-7174. Obviously, we're not in the office today. Leave your name and number on the machine. It is filling up quickly. I think we did have a few seats left. We only have room for 20 people. So if you want in, call right now and leave your name and number on the machine, because we did this show last week as well on some different concepts. And so it's filling up quick. It's 837-7174. More information on weight loss when we get back. So don't go away. Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us on this very important show today on the Battle of the Bulge. And 2/3 of you out there have it, and actually, unfortunately, in Louisiana, it's even more than that. And in the first segment, we were discussing some very important concepts that you need to know about the food that you can eat in order for you to get down to your ideal size permanently, naturally, without ever gaining it back. And I wanted to spend a few minutes here talking to the men out there. You know, there's lots of men out there that would like to lose some weight and be healthier and have a better body, but many diets don't really focus on men's needs very well. Most diets are focused on women, because women are usually more proactive and they usually take more action to lose weight. So this leaves a void for men looking for common sense ways to eat better. And this is the number one thing, men out there that want to lose weight, that I want you to know. You do not have to eat like a rabbit in order to lose weight on my program. You can eat good, solid, real food, and you can eat plenty of food and still get down to your ideal size. You know, I was reading an article on a new eating plan for men the other day called the Lean Muscle Diet. And I'm not really a promoter of specific diet plans because every person is a little bit different. And as a coach, you have to figure out what that person's solution is for their particular set of issues that's preventing them from losing weight. But after reading these diet principles on this lean muscle diet, there are some valid ideas that I wanted to go over on this. And, you know, I think that the wives listening can use these ideas to help their husbands lose that, you know, that stomach that he's been complaining about. And I've coached hundreds of men and women to reach their ideal weight. But I think that these principles will help you understand how the body works and give you some good ideas to get started. And principle number 1 for men is eat more food more often. I talk to so many men out there that say, I don't eat breakfast. I don't have time. And that puts less energy in your tank. Your metabolism will slow down. And when you eat lunch, your body is going to flood with insulin. And it's going to store as much of that lunch as fat as it possibly can because of that fat storing system that I was talking about in the first segment. Your body doesn't know when you're going to starve it again. And so it's going to end up storing most of that lunch as fat. So you really want to try to eat more often, and you want to eat within 30 minutes of waking up. Now, principle number 2 is eat better food. Healthy food or losing weight does not have to be bland and boring. I promise you it doesn't. Healthy food can be exciting and flavorful. And now you can eat plenty of food. You don't have to go hungry. And like I said, you don't have to eat like a rabbit, but you do have to be willing to make some changes. You do have to be open-minded. You know, sometimes the men that I coach for weight loss can be really difficult as far as they just aren't willing to change anything, but they still want to lose weight. You know, they say stuff like, well, Doc, I don't eat vegetables. Well, now, I don't like them. So what you're saying is there are thousands of vegetables out there, fixed tens of thousands of different ways, and you don't like a single one. I can understand saying, Doc, I don't like Brussels sprouts. But to say, I don't like vegetables, that kind of mentality is a real challenge to deal with because you have to be willing to change something or you're going to stay looking like you do. So you at least have to give me some kind of concessions and let me change something and be willing to do something different than what you're doing in order for you to change the size of your waist. So I like something called the 85-10-5 rule. And what that means is 85% of the time you eat foods that you really like, but that are promoting a smaller waist. You know, you can have things like eggs, fish, nuts, fruits, those kind of things. And if a food, single ingredient foods, one ingredient foods, in other words, the name of the food is what's in it. Eggs, fish, nuts, fruit, that kind of thing, apple. If a food doesn't have an ingredients list, it's a pretty safe bet. The more ingredients is in the food, the more processed it is, meaning the more sugar and fat it has, and it's stripped of all the good nutrients. So pick one ingredient foods, steak, apples, almonds, that kind of thing. And then 10% of the time, you eat foods that are healthy foods, but that you don't really love, but are still good for you, that may contain the enzymes or minerals that you need in order for you to get down to your ideal size. So 10% of the time you eat things like spinach, even though you don't really care about it. Or you might eat something like, something with a salad or something like broccoli, even though you don't really care for it. 10% of the time you try to add those things to your diet. And believe it or not, you may actually start to like them. And then 5% of the time, eat whatever you would like. Eat whatever you want. Now, the diet calls 85-10-5. This 85-10-5 diet is something that in most cases, we can still help you get down to your ideal size using this 85-10-5 rule. And then principle number 3 is protein is key. Protein puts on lean muscle, and lean muscle burns fat. So carbs are a gut-busting problem, and you want to eliminate them every chance. But protein fills you up, it speeds up your metabolism, it slows down your appetite, and like I said, it will build lean muscle. So I could take identical twins sitting on the couch. They have exactly the same DNA, and I could put 10 pounds more muscle on one of those twins than the other one. And if I measured their fat burning sitting on the couch for 1 hour, the one with 10 extra pounds of muscle would burn tremendously more fat just by sitting there, because that muscle, that 10 pounds of muscle, burns calories. It burns fat just doing nothing else but having it. So as a certified weight loss coach, these are a few of the things that we talk about with our weight loss clients that I don't normally get into on the radio because it gets just a little bit complex. But the reason that having a coach is so important is because these are not cookie cutter solutions. I'm not one to go, here's your diet plan, good luck, stick with it. That's not how this works. Having a coach is a totally different concept. We sit down and work on your individual set of issues and on what are your puzzle pieces going to look like to get you down to your ideal size, because everybody's a little bit different. Everybody has different issues and makeup and jobs and all those things and metabolism that is causing them to look like they do. And so as a coach, we don't do cookie cutter programs. We figure out what your individual set of parameters look like, and then I help encourage and coach you through to those things every single day until we get you down to your ideal size. So that's a few of the things that we're going to talk about at our weight loss workshop. It's called 4 Secrets to Permanent Weight Loss. It's going to be January the 16th, which is Wednesday night in Broussard. It's at 6:30 p.m. And if you want to register, you need to call because this one's going to fill up. It's 837-7174. That's 837-7174. Just leave your name on the machine and we'll get back to you on Monday. We'll be right back with more great tips. Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. Thank you so much for joining me on this show today. Today's show is about getting you down to your ideal weight permanently and naturally. And before break, I was saying that there are some real underlying signals happening inside your body that have to be addressed in order for you to permanently lose weight and keep it off for good. And so I've developed this 4 secrets to permanent weight loss over the last really 10 years, working with thousands of patients and coaching them down to their ideal size. And the 4 secrets to permanent weight loss are, number 1 is dealing with your unmanaged stress. And stress, and listen, there are really 2 kinds of people out there. There are those people that admit that they are stressed, and there are those people that are misleading themselves that they are not stressed. And so stress can be a major thing like, you're going through death of a loved one or a divorce, or stress can be small things like you have to drive across Lafayette to get to work every morning. Whatever it is, it can be small stress or large stress, but stress causes weight gain. And here's how. Stress puts our body into a reflex mechanism called fight or flight. So if you back us up to our hunter-gatherer days, our body developed a defense mechanism from being attacked by a predator called fight or flight. And fight or flight means that our body goes through these physiological changes to try to protect us under times that we are being attacked. Now, your body responds physiologically the same to stress, whether you're sitting in traffic late for an appointment or someone is breaking into your house. The physiology of what your body goes through is exactly the same. Now, of course, the degree is different, but the physiology is the same. And when you go into this stress response, your body goes through over 50 hormonal and structural changes. And I'm going to give you the top 4. Number 1 is your blood pressure goes up. Because think about this. Your body thinks that you're about to fight or you're about to run, and you need a lot of blood pressure to do that. You're either going to fight for your life or you're going to run for your life, and you need a lot of blood pressure. So we end up with all these high blood pressure problems that everyone has. And, I've always thought it was funny that people tell me they have high blood pressure, and I go, well, why is that? And they have no clue. They've never even thought about that. They think that they're just unlucky and suffer with high blood pressure. Your body doesn't work that way. There's a reason. And then the second thing that happens under stress is my body takes the blood from my digestive system and it moves that blood into my arms and legs. So I don't need to digest my food when I'm in the middle of a fight or flight situation. I need blood in my arms because I'm going to fight, or in my legs because I'm going to run. And so my digestive system shuts down and it moves that blood into my arms and legs. So now we have all of the digestive problems that everyone suffers with, which digestive issues are now the number one reason for doctor's visits in America, by the way. And then the third thing that happens is my sleep hormones shut down. I'm not going to be falling asleep in the middle of a fight. I'm not going to be falling asleep in the middle of running from a predator. So if you think about this, if you're laying there about to go to bed tonight, and you're just getting in the bed, you're fluffing up your pillow and you're starting to lay down, and you hear your front door glass break open. So the heart starts racing, you grab your pistol, you go downstairs, your hands are shaking, and the cat just knocked a vase off the table and it broke on the floor. It wasn't the front door at all. Are you going to go back to sleep right away? You're probably not, right? You're going to be shaking, your heart's going to be racing. Your body shuts down your sleep hormones when you're under stress, whether you're sitting in traffic late or someone is, a predator chasing you. So all these sleep problems that we have today is from stress. And then number 4 on the list, and this is where weight gain comes in, which lack of sleep causes weight gain as well. But under stress, your body produces a hormone called cortisol. Now, cortisol is great if I'm injured in a fight because it's anti-inflammatory and it goes to heal that. But if cortisol is produced day after day after day from a high-stress life, cortisol becomes a weight-storing hormone. So if you're under stress, you will have high blood pressure, digestive disturbances, sleep disturbances, and weight problems. Now, how many Americans does that describe? We live in a stressed out existence. Now, how do we know this is happening? Well, there's a really simple test we do called Ragland's test, which I'll tell you how we do that at the workshop, to where we can test you doing a very simple non-invasive test to see if you're struggling with this stress problem. And if you are, we have a simple little fix. This is so easy to solve. I can't make the stress go away, but I can certainly protect your body from going into this fight or flight response. But you can't be under stress and lose weight at the same time. Now, secret number 2 is hypertoxicity of the liver. The average American now eats 14 pounds of chemicals, pollutants, and toxins and industrial pollutants and chemicals every single year. To give you guys a visual of what that means, if you'll remember whenever we were kids, they had the big box of Tide washing powder with the handle on top, and we'd always play, it was like 2 foot wide by like 3 foot tall. That's like 12 pounds. So imagine if I brought this box of washing powder to your house for each one of your family members. I bring your baby one. I bring your kids one, a piece. I bring you one and your wife one with some spoons. And I say, I need you to eat this box of soap this year and from birth now, and I'm going to bring you another one year after year after year. That's how polluted our livers are. That's how stressed out the detoxification centers are in our bodies in today's society. You would never do that to your baby. Feed them a box of soap that big. It's already happening. They tested the cord blood of over 200 newborns, and they found some of the harshest industrial chemicals in every one. There wasn't one cord blood out of the 200 that did not have very poisonous industrial chemicals in them. So we're born toxic because it comes from the atmosphere and it's already in the blood. And so all of these chemicals are bombarding our liver. So our liver has decided its only solution is to store some of these extra toxins in our belly fat. So your liver will signal fat storage because of this toxic chemical overload. And the only way to get rid of that extra belly fat is to eliminate all of these toxic impurities from the body and from the liver. But guys, you have to know what you're doing on this. You can't go to, the big box store and grab a body detox off the shelf and expect that to work. You have to know what you're doing here. And so we have a flushing that we do of all of these chemical impurities out of the body that is effective, and it's very safe, but it has to be done in order for you to ever permanently lose weight. And by the way, these chemicals are also major thyroid disruptor, major hormone disruptors. They cause diabetes, they cause cancer, and all kinds of other things. 14 pounds a year. So that has to be addressed as well. And that's the first 2 secrets to our 4 secrets to permanent weight loss workshop that we will be going over on January the 16th at 6:30 p.m. right there in Broussard. And if you want to come, you need to register right away because it's almost full. It's 837-7174 and leave your name and number on the machine. We're not in the office today, but if you leave your name and number on the machine, I will make sure you get a seat. The number's 837-7174. We'll be right back with the second 2 secrets to permanent weight loss, so don't go away. Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. Thank you so much for joining me on this very important weight loss show today. So we covered the first 2 secrets of permanent weight loss in that last segment. And now I wanted to go into secret number 3, which is counting macronutrients, not calories. But really, guys, this secret number 3 is where we get into all of those details about the food that I went over in the first segment or 2, where we were talking about protein and carbohydrate intake and eating too many portions. All of that is where we get into this secret number 3. But you can't even make this successful until you deal with those first 2 things that we talked about in the last segment. If you have overabundance of stress causing cortisol and you have toxicity of the liver, it doesn't matter what you eat. It is not going to be successful. So weight loss does not have to be this hard. It's all about working with the body and the way the body was designed to function instead of fighting against all of these signals to store fat, which is what most people do. So they end up yo-yo dieting, gaining it all back, and they end up frustrated and just giving up. We won't let that happen to you. So secret number 3 is counting macronutrients, not calories. And what do I mean by that? Your body does not count calories whenever you swallow food. It doesn't say, oh, well, that was 500 calories, so I'm going to burn 500 calories. It doesn't work that way. Your body doesn't look at food as how many calories you ate. So you measuring how many calories you eat is a really poor way to determine what nutrition and what food is going in your body. And I'll give you a perfect example that I always use for that. Imagine if I put 2 plates in front of you, and on one of them, I have a nice big piece of cake. Total calories, about 500. And on the other plate, I put 3 big organic chicken breasts. Total calories, about 500. Now, if I'm a calorie counter diet, those 2 plates mean exactly the same thing to my body. If I need 500 calories, then I can choose 3 chicken breasts or a piece of cake, and they're all the same thing, and I just need 500 calories. I'm going to pick the cake every time. Is my body going to do the same thing with a piece of cake as it is with 3 chicken breasts? It is not. So these calorie counting programs do not work because your body doesn't look at food as how many calories did he just swallow. So the way your body looks at food when you swallow it, it says, is that a protein, a carbohydrate, or a fat? And I'm going to produce the proper digestive enzymes, and I'm going to metabolize that food based on which one of those three it is. And so counting macronutrients, trying to figure out how many proteins, carbohydrates, and fats you should eat every day is so much more important than saying how many calories. I have patients ask me all the time, and which, by the way, if you guys don't know, I've now lost 73 pounds. I went from a size 40 waist and obese with prediabetes and sleep apnea and high blood pressure down to winning the Louisiana Masters Physique Championship. And so the way that I did that was not counting calories, but going through these 4 secrets that I developed for myself first and then went on to do this for hundreds of other people. And so you can't measure calories and figure out how your body is going to metabolize that, because one set of calories doesn't do the same thing in your body as the other. So you have to look at how many macronutrients you are eating. And we can say, I want you to have 120 proteins, 70 carbs, and 60 fats or whatever a day. And I have a little simple app that you can put on your phone that has a barcode scanner. You scan in your food like at the grocery store, and it'll figure all this out for you. And then secret number 4 is our new technology that we call our ace up our sleeve. And that is our new InvisiRed technology. InvisiRed uses powerful infrared and LED lights to break down and liquefy fat cells. And then they dump that liquid into the lymphatic system, and the lymphatic system washes it away out of the body. Now, this is not a replacement to a diet program. This is not everything that you need to do. It's a helper. It speeds things up. It helps work on those difficult trouble spots. It's an addition to all of these other things, not a replacement for. And so what was happening is we were getting patients down to their ideal goal weight, and they would still have areas they weren't happy with. Maybe they had some loose skin on the love handles, or, maybe they had some stretch marks or some areas of the hips that they still weren't happy with. We can now body contour those areas using this InvisiRed technology. It does stretch marks, body contouring, skin tightening, and weight loss using some very powerful LED and infrared technology. And we're going to get into all of this at our workshop on the 16th, right there in Broussard at 6:30 p.m. on January the 16th. And if you want more information on that, or you want to register, you can call my office at 837-7174 and register. And it is filling up quickly. It's 837-7174. Just leave your name and number on the machine, and we will get back to you. And we will help you permanently get down to your ideal size. You can do this. Having a coach to help you that has also experienced dramatic weight loss and kept it off for the last 7 years, and has also helped hundreds of other people finally get down to their ideal size. Having a coach that's been through all of that is critically important. I'm here to help you, not to ridicule you. My program works. If you follow it, it will work. Your body doesn't have any choice but to easily lose weight on this program. So thank you guys for joining me. The number's 837-7174. We can do this. It's Wednesday night. If you want to lose weight, make sure you show up. Thank you guys. We'll see you all next week.